Bolt fam, the vibe in Los Angeles right now is wild because what's been happening behind the scenes hits directly at the offense, the offensive line, and our playoff dreams. There's a running back decision involving a division rival, a possible market move that could change how Herbert is protected. An AFC standing shakeup that turned fast, and in the middle of all the O-line chaos, a small bolt of hope. You're not going to believe what we've got today, so sit down, smash that like button, and let's dive straight into the news. Let's go straight to the storyline that left a lot of people stuck between hope and pure frustration, the Damen Pierce saga. The moment the news broke that the Houston Texans had released him, right before Thursday Night Football against the Bills, every Chargers fan did the same math. Greg Roman's physical offense, 3 running backs on injured reserve, Omarion Hampton still not activated, only Kamani Vidal on the active roster. It was impossible not to see the fit. Pierce didn't just fall from the sky onto the market. His name had been floating since the offseason, with trade rumors in the summer and right up to the deadline. Everyone knew his time in Houston was shaky. When the cut finally came, it felt like a gift dropping into the lap of a team desperate for a downhill runner in this Harbaugh ball identity. But as soon as that news exploded, came the cold shower. The Chargers were far from alone. Several teams around the league moved quickly, calling his agent, checking cap space, evaluating depth charts, and playoff odds. Pierce cleared waivers, became a free agent, and the whole situation turned into a quiet bidding war. According to reporting from Aaron Wilson, the Chargers were in that final group, pushing late. It made sense on the field, and emotionally for a fan base that wants to see this offense punishing defenses in December. But one detail weighed a lot: the Chiefs' overtime win over the Colts, keeping Kansas City firmly in the hunt. Right after that game, the bomb dropped. Damen Pierce chose the Kansas City Chiefs. Division rival, the same team that has blocked our path for years. He looked at the landscape and picked being another weapon for Mahomes instead of helping Herbert in this rebuild. To make it worse, the date is already circled. Week 15, Arrowhead Stadium. Chargers defense staring down the running back who could have been wearing powder blue. It's the kind of decision that becomes locker room fuel and cranks the rivalry up even more. Deep down, you have to ask yourself, is this choice going to haunt the Chiefs or the Chargers? Now take a breath, because the next topic hits a spot that's been keeping everyone in Los Angeles up at night: the offensive line. Week after week, it gets more obvious that, no matter how much Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman insist on a physical, run-heavy, play-action offense, everything falls apart when there's no stability at tackle. That's why the name Andre Dillard has started to pop up as a very logical possibility. This isn't some random fringe player. He's a former first-round pick with the athletic traits you want in a modern left tackle. Someone who has seen different schemes and coaching staffs but never really stuck. Eagles, Titans, Packers, a quick stop with the 49ers. Same story. Talent, flashes, and then inconsistency. Now he hits the 2025 market with that dangerous tag. The tools are there. The breakout never fully came. That's exactly the kind of profile that usually catches Harbaugh's eye. His track record is full of offensive linemen that arrived as question marks and left as steady starters. At Michigan, he rebuilt units with underrated players. In the NFL, alongside Roman, he's leaned on physical lines, mixing young ascending pieces with veterans looking for a second chance. For a team that lost Slater, lost Alt, and has watched its depth at tackle collapse, a guy like Dillard screams, "Buy low, fix later." He wouldn't walk in as a savior. He'd be a calculated gamble. Maybe he's a bridge starter at left tackle while the staff reshuffles everything. Maybe he's a swing tackle who can plug in on either side when injuries hit. Maybe he's part of specific pass protection packages, a role Roman likes when the mission is simple: give the quarterback enough time to breathe. The big question is health. Dillard is coming off recent issues, including ankle problems, and any move would start with a full medical workup. But if he checks out physically, the logic isn't complicated. A still young former first-round tackle, on the market at the exact moment the Chargers are starving for depth, in an offense that desperately needs more protection and obvious passing downs. From a storyline angle, it's that classic second chance arc fans love. A talented player who hasn't hit his ceiling finds a head coach obsessed with offensive line play and an elite quarterback who urgently needs protection. So while people obsess over box scores, this is the kind of decision that usually begins quietly inside the building. A name on the internal target list, maybe a visit, a workout, or a low-risk, high-reward deal that barely makes a headline at first. And if you think that possibility alone is big, the wider AFC picture around the Chargers right now makes the pressure on every personnel move even higher. During the bye, while the players finally got to breathe a little, the AFC turned into chaos. Even without stepping on the field, the Chargers moved the needle. It started on Thursday night when the Bills stumbled against the Texans. That single result shook up the conference and pushed Los Angeles into the top wildcard spot, the number 1, 5 seed. On paper, it's just one position. In reality, for a team living on the edge, it's a massive swing. None of this came from the Chargers themselves. They were still digesting that ugly loss to the Jaguars, the kind of defeat that sticks with you. But the tiebreakers fell their way. Among Chargers, Jaguars, and Bills, all at 7-4, Los Angeles now holds the edge because of its record in AFC games. 6-2, better than both rivals. It's the kind of detail that doesn't go viral, but inside buildings, people know how decisive it can be in late December. At the same time, the danger around them only grew. Ravens, Steelers, Texans, and Chiefs are all sitting right behind at 6-5. That's not distant pressure. That's a group ready to pounce the moment the Chargers slip. And the way the Chiefs came back to beat the Colts in overtime was the worst-case emotional scenario for Los Angeles. Instead of breathing room, another reminder that nobody in the AFC West is backing off. Add to that the division race itself. The Denver Broncos, resting on their bye at the top of the AFC West, still have that 2-game cushion over the Chargers. It's not an impossible gap, but it demands almost flawless football from here on out. Every snap at SoFi starts to feel heavier when you know any mistake can cost seeding or even a playoff berth. And now comes the kind of matchup that never cares about records or momentum. Raiders at Chargers, back at SoFi. No matter how bad Las Vegas looks on paper, no matter what the standings say, division games always turn into street fights. It's personal, it's loud, and for a team as beat up as the Chargers, it's exactly the kind of test that exposes weaknesses. Which brings us back to the unit with more power than any other to decide how this season ends. The offensive line. This isn't a social media overreaction. Right now, the Chargers have one of the worst pass-protecting lines in the league, and that reality is tearing down every attempt at consistency on offense. Justin Herbert has been pressured 182 times and sacked 35. Numbers near the top of the NFL leaderboard for all the wrong reasons. That isn't sustainable winning football. The chain reaction started in training camp when Rashawn Slater went down and blew open the left side. The emergency solution pushed Joe Alt to left tackle and Trey Pipkins III to the right. It was supposed to be temporary. Instead, it exposed how fragile the structure really was. Then the injuries kept piling up. Alt hurt his ankle again and was lost for the year. Pipkins struggled to hold up snap after snap. Austin Deculus and Bobby Hart rotated in, battled their own issues, and never truly stabilized anything. The line turned into a weekly experiment. In a last-ditch effort, the front office traded for Trevor Penning, hoping a change of scenery would unlock his game. Instead, his first outing with the Bolts was brutal. He allowed pressure at one of the highest rates of any lineman that week and looked overwhelmed on Herbert's blind side. When your left tackle becomes a turnstile, the entire playbook shrinks. The interior hasn't helped. Bradley Bozeman grades out near the very bottom of the league at center. Zion Johnson is stuck in that uncomfortable middle tier where he isn't a disaster, but he also isn't playing like the cornerstone the team hoped he'd be. Mekhi Becton, brought in with hopes of being a powerful interior presence, struggled so much he ended up on the bench. But there is at least one real positive glimmer: Jamari Salyer. When he's been thrown into the fire, especially in that game against the Titans, he's responded. Lined up at left tackle, he turned in some of the most consistent pass protection of any Charger this season. backed up by strong grading in both pass and run blocking. Chargers beat writer Daniel Popper has already spelled out two possible internal fixes. First, make Salyer the full-time starter at left tackle and accept that, while you might lose a bit of athleticism in the run game, you gain stability in pass protection. Second, commit more to heavier personnel with extra tight ends. The numbers are clear. When the Chargers use multiple tight end sets, their success rate jumps and the pressure on Herbert drops. Will Dissly, Tyler Conklin, and Ron DeGadsden II might not light up fantasy football shows, but they can change the math up front. None of this instantly turns the offensive line into a top unit. But it does something this team desperately needs. It gives them a plan. When you've already hit what feels like rock bottom in protection, any credible adjustment is better than pretending it's fine. If Harbaugh decides to shuffle more pieces up front, it will be because he knows the entire season is sitting on that line of scrimmage. So after all of this, you can feel how heavy the moment is for this franchise. Losing Pierce to the Chiefs just adds fuel to a rivalry that was already red hot. Keeping a name like Andre Dillard on the radar shows there are still smart bets to be made. Climbing the AFC standings without even playing proves this roster is still alive in the playoff hunt. And every conversation about the offensive line leads to one conclusion. The Chargers have to act, and they have to act now. If it were up to you, what move would you make first? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and get ready, because there are still a lot of battles ahead for this team.